Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast. Let's get into it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many movies.
I said, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I am your humble host and somewhat still sick Rowan.
It's Xylia.
And this is the popcorn kernel stuck between your teeth, Mike.
And we are back. We will say apologies. Mandy was late going out. Rowan had it all. I'm talking the third person. That's really bizarre. I had it all done, and then my computer restarted, and I didn't save it because I'm an idiot. So I had to re-edit it, but it is out now, and all is forgiven because
Let us be the judge of that.
I just have an adorable face, so...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're back. This one is, kind of exciting. Our first time doing 2 movies in one episode. And we'll get into, what it is in a second. But I do have a question. I'm going to throw a softball, because it's been a while since we've kind of checked in on this. I want to know what television movies, what have you guys been watching that isn't horror? Or maybe just isn't something we have reviewed. And we will start with Mike, because Xylia's face is looking very puzzled.
I have been catching up on, and by catching up on, I mean I'm still, in the middle of the wonderful Canadian Schitt's Creek.
Ooh, I love that.
We love the roses.
I'm only 3 seasons into it, but
that's where I am. Yeah. I sort of watched it back in the day for a bit and then fell off the wagon, I guess, and now I've hitched myself back onto it, I guess, and I'm grateful for it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like Eugene Levy? Who doesn't like any of the Levys?
Catherine O'Hara, come on.
It's such a... It will probably definitely go down as an iconic Canadian television show, I feel. History will remember it well.
It will, thankfully.
Is that all you've been watching?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I finished American Horror Story 1984, was not super impressed.
We haven't watched any more of it yet.
We've still only seen half of the first episode.
Yeah, no, I finished it. It was what it was. That's all I have to say about it. I love the actors, well, some of the actors in it. But I just...
That almost makes me want to watch it even more.
I think you should, just to have finished it. Now, I'm not saying it's the worst season, cough cough Hotel, but...
I don't think we didn't even finish Hotel.
This is our trend with American Horror Story. Beyond season 2, I think we've watched the first 5 episodes of every season, and for some reason or another... Oh, we did watch all of the one with... the political one. Cult, yeah. When we went to New York City, we literally came home every night early so we could lay in bed and watch that one. But the rest of them, I think we only really watched the first few episodes, and then for some reason or another, we don't finish it. I would like to go back and finish them all, though.
I feel like that's a common complaint with American Horror Story that I hear a lot is they always start off pretty strong, but it's just I find that the plot lines are really convoluted after a while, and there's 80 things going on, and
they do try to squeeze a lot in there, and sometimes some seasons they do that thing where they switch gears really abruptly 5 or 6 episodes in and kind of twist it and turn it into something else, and sometimes that's really successful, the Roanoke season, which I think was frankly a masterpiece, but I don't know, sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it just feels like the gear switching just is trying to keep it from running out of steam when clearly it already has.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I find it's dragging out a lot.
How about you, Xylia? What have you been watching? I feel like I could guess.
Well, I've actually worked like over 60 hours this week, and my mental bandwidth is like 0 right now, and I don't even remember the last time we recorded, so I don't remember what I've really watched since, but we finished Big Mouth.
We did, yes.
What else have we... Yeah, it was, I mean, I always enjoy Big Mouth, and it's funny, and I like it. What else have we watched? We've been watching Riverdale continuously every week.
Always Riverdale.
I mean, I feel like we're so far into it, you gotta, like, you know, one of those shows you just, like, keep watching.
Santa Clarita.
Oh, Santa Clarita Diet. We watched the 3rd season of that. That's the last season. That's another, like, easy watch. But I think this was probably my favorite season. And
yeah, it was really well done.
It's canceled now, so it's over.
Well, yeah, when they hit their stride, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that season was really good. What else have we watched?
I mean, Xylia's really putting off the inevitable of what the only thing she's ever watching.
Well, ever since I was 17 years old. Okay, so when I was in my first year of university, 16 and Pregnant came out. And these people still have a show, but it's on, like, Teen Mom. And since I've seen every single episode and, like, basically followed them throughout their entire journey for the past 11 years, again, another thing that I have to just keep watching. I feel like I know them too much. So, yep, I mean, I'm always watching that.
Teen Mom 2.
Teen Mom Young and Pregnant? Drama. That's a very dramatic episode I watched last night.
Which in turns means I watched it as
I mean, Rowan's like, turn the screen so I can see it.
Oh, yeah.
You get so caught. You just like,
Well, it's like tabloid trash, right?
Exactly. Sometimes your brain just needs that.
I agree with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've watched without you. I'm on like season 3 now of BoJack Horseman. I've been kind of late to that party, but I like really, really love that show. I thought like when it first came out, I wasn't really interested because I thought it was just like some, just kind of like stupid humor cartoon, but I didn't realize that it's just like, it's actually like pretty serious, and it's just about like an existential crisis.
I mean, the same people do Tuca and Birdie, and they have like some pretty serious episodes. I think there's one about like sexual assault and like depression, maybe. So
Well then.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting way to discuss it on a cartoon.
And then I can't really, I've also been kind of busy, so I haven't really watched anything else. We did watch the In the Tall Grass movie.
Oh, yes.
That Netflix did based on the Stephen King short story. And yeah,
I thought that was...
I missed that.
Decent. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I said maybe sometime we'll do it for the podcast or something. Like, I thought it was pretty weird. It was interesting. It's not like a heavy watch. It's...
now we just started watching, what's it called? The Astronomers Club?
Yeah, really enjoying that so far. We've only seen like the first episode.
Yeah.
But it's
we started that last night?
It's the creator of Blackish, and it's a sketch comedy show. So, yeah, it's pretty funny. I enjoy it. But yeah, I think that's about it. Other than that, I know I've just been wasting my life for Black Friday. I bought the Spider-Man game finally, so I've just been going hard on that.
Oh yes, I remember the last time we recorded, you asked us a question about Black Friday.
That's right.
That was a while ago.
It was a while ago. So, I think we can get into it, to celebrate the season as well as to celebrate the new Black Christmas coming out. We are going to be reviewing Black Christmas from 1974 as well as Black Christmas from 2006, the remake. So we're going to start with the 1974 one, and then we will get into the remake, the original remake, and we'll see how this works out. We've never done 2 movies in one episode. So let's get into the trailer for the 1974 Black Christmas, and then we'll be back with the bio.
I love 70s trailers.
Hello? Hello? Who is this?
Please stop. Help, God. baby.
You've got the wrong number.
Where did you play?
Look, I'm telling you, you have the wrong number.
What's your mother and I must go?
Who is it?
All right, so that was the trailer. So let's get into the bio. Straight to the point. It is only one sentence long. During their Christmas break, a group of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger.
Yep.
There you go.
I mean, not as eloquent as the others, but it'll do.
So, Black Christmas, Canadian horror film. We don't do a ton of Canadian horror films.
All three of them.
Yeah. And I would probably argue, would you say this is probably one of the most iconic Canadian horror movies of all time?
Well, I mean, American Psycho's Canadian.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know if I consider American Psycho because it's like...
You don't consider it Canadian or you don't consider it a horror?
I don't consider it Canadian.
I mean, it's filmed in Toronto.
Yeah, but lots of films are in Toronto.
They're
But I mean, like,
Canadian too.
the writer, this is made by people from Canada.
I really love, in the original one, the picture of Pierre Trudeau in the house. I'm just like, classic.
Yeah, shout out to Pierre Trudeau. That picture is pretty sweet. I might have to get that picture as well.
I guess. I didn't know you were that passionate about him, but okay.
So it is directed by Bob Clark, which very interesting filmography. Porky's, Porky's Revenge, and A Christmas Story.
Oh yes, I hate Christmas movies, so I always forget that he also did A Christmas Story. Good for him.
What did my dad say? That was like Porky's was like the first movie he rented or something?
Yeah, he did say it was like the first movie he ever rented from the store.
I'm gonna say that Porky's is severely underrated in the year of our Lord 2019.
I don't think I've ever
also,
seen it.
Porky's 2 and Porky's Revenge are also great. I'm gonna throw that out there. I said it. There we go. I'm out of the closet as a fucking Porky's fan. The whole trilogy. I wish they would do a new one. Actually, it will probably be garbage, but still, it's.
I'll have to see it. I've literally never ever seen it. I've heard of it, never seen it. But I think it's interesting because I think, when people talk about like iconic Christmas movies, I mean, I'd say A Christmas Story is probably one of the biggest Christmas movies of all time. So very interesting that, you would go from like Porky's and then this, A Black Christmas, to A Christmas Story.
Which is like very family oriented.
Yeah, which is like the opposite of this film.
And Porky's.
And Porky's. But just, I mean, Bob Clark, I guess, just making goddamn iconic movies. Because as we just said, like, probably not just an iconic horror movie period, but like, maybe one of the most iconic Christmas horror movies of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how many Christmas horror movies are there really?
I mean, I found out there is a shit ton.
Really?
There are actually a lot.
But they
Most
just have
of
a
them
budget
are
of like $30.
Oh, okay.
The cast for this, I figured Mike was definitely gonna just take this away. I heard that.
Oh yes, that
he loves it.
Stewing in all the, iconic ladies and a couple of iconic dudes too. I mean, we all love Art Hindle. Don't even tell me you don't know who he is. Speaking of iconic Canadians, Olivia Hussey. He was one of the boyfriend guys. I can't remember their names. I'm sorry. Like it's
Peter or something. Whose boyfriend?
No, Chris.
Was it?
He was the one who was there at the end, with the cops.
Oh
But
yeah.
anyway, and he used to be on like ENG and all these like Canadian TV shows in like the 90s and stuff, and a lot of kind of culty Canadian movies that I used to rent from the video store when I was a youngster. So I love him. And I mean Andrea Martin. Hello, like comedy legend. SCTV. Also the tragically canceled Difficult People.
Also, iconic film Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yes, oh my god, of course. Of course, always.
But yeah, just pure comedy legend. And I mean, there's a couple other notable people, Mike.
I mean, obviously Olivia Hussey, aka Juliet from the only memorable before Baz Luhrmann's version of Romeo and Juliet.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Xylia was
It's
gonna
the
get
only
angry.
other memorable, like, notable adaptation, I think.
She looks so much like my friend Brittany. So I texted Brittany, I was like, oh my god, have you ever seen the original Black Christmas? And I texted her, I was like, oh my god, have you ever seen the original Black Christmas? She said she had, and I was like, there's literally an actress in it that looks identical to you. And so she was like, oh, is it Olivia Hussey? And I was like, yeah. And
wow,
she's like,
she
yeah,
knew.
somebody else
Yeah.
had told me that before, yeah.
And she was also in the underrated Psycho 4. Playing
Yes.
Norman Bates' mother, the prequel Psycho.
Yes, she was. That's where I know her from.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one name I haven't heard you mention yet,
Well,
Mike,
I'm
and I know
obviously
you're
building-
saving the best for last.
You know I'm gonna build up to my girl, Margot Kidder, aka Barb, aka one of my icons from horror movies growing up. The most influential piece of Christmas decoration to ever happen in my life was her fucking tiny booze bottle wreath on her door. I copied it for like 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She was definitely like the standout star of this film.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna be like the main, end up being like the main character, but Jess, aka Olivia Hussey, kind of.
Yes, but you know, it's
Was.
always like the really charismatic character or actor gets relegated to dying early.
True.
And
Yeah.
generally, and I'm saying this just generally, this is not a rule, but like generally the lead actor is significantly more boring. Not
True.
the actor per se, but like the character.
Character.
Yeah.
So let's start the way we always do with our favorite scene, favorite kill from the movie, favorite drunken rant, anything that you love about this movie. Let's shower it with praise.
Well, you've already like foreshadowed what you know I'm gonna say. My two favorite scenes are obviously Barb's clapback to the obscene phone caller at the beginning, and I always want to be able to snap back at somebody with, no, it's the Mormon Tabernacle Choir making their annual obscene phone call, and I've never had a chance to use it yet, unfortunately. So that, obviously, because you know I love a, like, saucy, foul-mouthed sorority girl, obviously, who has alcohol in her hand. And my other is 100% gonna be the, like, one of the shots when they call her to tell her that the call is coming from inside the house, and just the several shots up and down of the empty hallway and the stairwell, that just, it creeps me the fuck out, and I had nightmares from it, and I think it's the kind of layout of the shot and just the dark wood of the stairwell and stuff. It just always like sticks out in my mind, and I love it. And I just think it's very like moody and creepy.
Xylia, let's go to you.
There's a lot of scenes I like, but I love pretty much any scene with the house mother in it.
Oh my god, Miss Mac.
I think she's hilarious, and also when she like opens up that book and there's like alcohol bottle hiding in it, I was like, Mike needs this.
It was very influential.
Yeah. I also loved the shirt they gave her for Christmas when they're like kind of down in the circle.
Oh yes.
It was floral, and it was, I don't know if it's the one they gave her or the one she was wearing before, but whatever. I loved it. I mean, the obscene phone calls, you know, if that was happening in real life, wouldn't be as funny, but, or funny at all, but also, I mean, we were just watching it in the middle of the day, and my dad was like in the kitchen cooking, and he was like, did that just say what I thought it said? And I was like, yeah. So
it's been a really long time since I've seen this, so I totally forgot about like the actual content of the phone calls.
They're really, really hideously effective for people who are as desensitized to that type of thing as we are.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like 1974, like what bold move for the obscenity of phone calls.
Yeah.
I have another favorite scene too. I have multiples, but okay, is the abusive boyfriend Peter?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Keir Delay, who we didn't mention. Sorry, we should have mentioned him because he is also great and was in 2001 and all that. So
when he's doing his like exam on the piano and he's just like pouring sweat and he's like, you know, playing the music, and I'm just like, wow, that does not sound good. Like, that is bad. And then, I mean, he wrecks the piano after. So, for some reason, that scene really stuck out to me.
I feel like destroying that piano would be so satisfying with the sledgehammer.
Also, I feel like your school would be pissed.
Yeah, you definitely would not be invited back. Hopefully he's not there on a scholarship.
No.
I was going to say my most memorable scene, I can't remember what they're doing, but it's when, who was the first young woman that dies in it?
Claire, is it, I think?
Claire. Yeah.
When her dad comes, and they're having, like, that daytime, like, it's like some Christmas party with kids, and they're, like, giving kids presents and stuff.
What?
And
the Carolers?
No, they're like in the house and there's kids there.
Yeah, it looks like a community thing.
It's like a community thing because they're a sorority, so they probably like do community stuff. And then Barb is drunk and she's feeding that kid alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing.
I forgot about that.
Barb is a icon.
Oh my god, she is my everything.
Icons.
Yeah.
And like what a different kind of role compared to like Lois Lane from Superman.
Right? And and I mean, you know, she did a couple of like great horror films, i.e. Sisters by Brian De Palma, but even that is just, that was a much more deranged role, but I find like she was never given enough of an opportunity in the early part of her career as this to like chew up the fucking scenery. She's so good at it.
Yeah, and like especially as like, I mean, she's definitely not, you know, the top billed actress in this, and like she just literally steals every scene she's in. I don't care about anyone else in that scene. It's like you can just like tell how much like star power she has.
Oh my god, just the charisma, like it fucking radiates, like it vibrates from the screen.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Another thing that I wanted to build upon with Xylia shouted out the house mother's book with the hidden alcohol, but also shout out to every other spot that has alcohol in.
The toilet tank.
It really made me think like about A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, maybe it's like kind of like a shout out how the mom had alcohol in every crevice of the house. I was just like,
maybe there's just, and it follows the mom was alcoholic. Maybe there's just like a theme in horror with alcoholic mothers.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like for a lot of the narratives to be even partly plausible, the authority figures have to be either absent somehow or
true,
drunkly absent, let's say.
Yeah, that's true.
Occupied
actually.
in their own, like,
world.
vortexes of misery.
Yeah.
As we all are.
Well, and now that I really think about it, I mean, I should also bring up that there is kind of another Nightmare on Elm Street connection to it because the cop, the main sheriff,
John Saxon, who we also failed to mention at the beginning. So sorry,
there's
John.
so many. It's like an amazing cast.
Yeah,
it's
and that sorority sister, the first one that gets killed, Claire. She, if you guys ever saw Curtains, which is one of the only other great Canadian slasher movies, she's in that, and she's spectacular. She's really good. That's a really good movie. It's one of those movies that's like bad but good, if that makes sense. And especially if you watch, like, they just re-released a new cut of it, and it is actually, like, it makes it a much better movie than it was, say, in like 83 or whenever it was that it came out. But anyway, yeah, there's so many horror connections. It's staggering. But I mean, it makes sense because, you know, it's Canadian, so, and she's a Canadian actress, and Curtains was a Canadian movie, so.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. Also, like, the cinematography of this, amazing. Like I said, it's been a really, like, I was really young when I saw this, and I don't think I've ever watched it again. And I was just like, I was really impressed. Like, I was like, I don't remember it being shot this well. I mean, we can definitely, and you know, everyone has the internet, all that kind of stuff, so everyone knows about, you know, like, that this did have influence on Carpenter when he did Halloween. And you can see it right there, like the first person shots of the killer at the beginning. The same thing we got with Michael Myers.
Oh yeah, those like shaky POVs.
Yeah, and it just Yeah, it was just like, you touched on, like the shots, it did a really good job of doing this cool thing where, like, at times it made the sorority house really warm, but then making it also, like, terrifying and scary.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I thought that was really, really well done. And also, like, really, we get into it right away. We get a kill, like...
It is 12 minutes in. I recorded it.
Yeah, 12 minutes in, which is pretty damn quick, especially for back then.
Yes, and I mean, this was not, like, slasher movies weren't a thing. Like, there was, this, I guess, would have probably been looked at more of a thriller.
Yeah.
So to get to the nuts and bolts of it so quickly, I mean, it's...
Yeah, well, and, like, when I think of, like, older films, like, in horror and stuff, like, if you get a kill that quick, it's usually it's edited really quickly, you don't really see anything, you're just, like, someone off screen, something happened to them, where, like, this is, like, we get into it, like... The bag's going over her head. We're seeing the whole struggle in that goddamn attic. Like, yes.
The shots of the entryway into the attic just fucking give me goosebumps every time, no matter how many times I've seen it.
This is Rowan's turn to talk about architecture. I love that attic. I love that. Like, such a good creepy attic.
I hate attics and I hate basements.
Yeah, but
I could just have a house with neither.
It's so good. The window, like, that window
bungalow.
is so good.
Some bungalows have basements.
Yeah,
that's
true.
why I live in an apartment.
I love that window. I love the attic. I love what the window represents further into it, where we get, like, that final shot of, like, with Claire in the window.
If they had just looked at the house from the outside and looked at that window, they would be like, hey... There's something at the window. There's something in front of the window.
Yeah, they weren't really definitely on the ball with it.
I think they were too concerned about the phone calls and, like, children being murdered in a park nearby.
Yeah, this is true. Also, Jess, right? Is Jess...
Yeah, that's like...
Yeah, I thought I'd bring up, like, very interesting, like, subplot line there with, like, the abortion and stuff, which I was, like, very...
And her crazy abusive boyfriend?
Yeah, crazy abusive is probably an understatement. But I thought it was, like, for the 70s, like, I liked that it was, like, pretty, like, she was obviously pro-choice, and it was pretty, like, progressive storyline to have in this just kind of...
Especially for a movie that I'm assuming the main audience was probably American.
Yeah,
and male.
Yeah. And male.
And like, that still to this day is, like, highly, highly controversial there.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting to see. And then I always like to talk about killing as much as I can. Like, I thought the kills in this were also, like, super awesome. Like, I can't really think of any kill that I thought was, like, subpar. Like, I thought they were all really well done.
I hate those subpar kills.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill someone, don't do it boring.
Yeah.
You were every horror movie producer from 1975 onward.
That's right. Put them in a sleeping bag and slam them against a tree.
Yes, you can't go wrong.
But yeah, and then, like, I wanted to talk about our killer.
Well, we still don't know who it is. He
Yeah.
looks like Eugene Toombs from the X-Files.
No, you're thinking of the remake.
Am I?
Yeah.
Is he the one with, like,
Yeah,
jaundice
that's
in
the remake.
Oh, oops.
We haven't got that far
We
yet.
haven't flash forward yet.
No, this one...
Did we even see the guy in this one?
We see his eyeball.
We
And his
see
arm.
his eyeball, yeah.
And which, by the way, is one of my absolute favorite shots in any horror movie ever. And it's one of the scariest things, like, of growing up from me watching horror movies. Like,
Yeah,
100%
very
that eyeball
iconic.
in the crack in the door jam. Like,
Oh, yeah.
no,
that was
I
freaking
see that in my
creepy.
nightmares. I see it in my nightmares.
And they did, like, I think they did a really good job with this kind of, not necessarily letting us know, like, is this Billy from the Tales, or is it, Peter, the crazy abusive boyfriend?
Do they even bring up Billy in this movie?
Yeah, they talk about it briefly, I believe. I'm trying to remember. It was a couple days ago.
Well, they mentioned Billy and Agnes numerous times obliquely in the calls, right?
Yeah.
Yes, in the calls.
Yes.
And, yeah, exactly. And...
Like, it's very obliquely. Like, you can't figure out what's happening. Like, there's something bad going on, but...
Yeah, and you don't really know what's going on.
I've watched 2 of these movies, and I still don't know who Agnes is, so...
We'll get into that when we get into the 2006 one. Yeah, there's so much about this to love, from the kills to the cinematography to so many shots being iconic. And I also kind of thought, like, as I brought up, like, the abortion plotline and stuff, like, it kind of has, like, this undertone of a feminist film.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Which I thought was, like, very interesting. Because when I think of Black Christmas, I didn't really necessarily think, like, oh, like, a feminist horror film.
I mean, it's kind of the perfect setting because it's literally like a sorority house. It's basically a movie full of women.
Yeah, it's kind of like
So it's
Suspiria.
kinda...
You just take it and drop it into
Exactly.
this, like, all-female space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, like we said, any movie is feminist and it is amazing as fuck as long as Barb's in it. So that's how it goes. Is there anything that we disliked about the movie, or is there anything you can think of that maybe you thought wasn't great? Or
I don't really have anything down that I didn't like about it.
I honestly also didn't.
I can tell you something I really liked.
Yeah.
I liked how it was left hanging at the end about Billy or whomever did it. Like, it was never really explained, and I kind of liked that.
Yeah, that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Oblique? Or, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah, like, we're not given this finite ending.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, I mean, there's really no resolution at all, right?
Exactly,
Like,
there's no closure.
There's no closure.
Yeah.
Although, let's do remember, this is the same Xylia that hated that Michael Myers got up at the end of the movie.
Okay, but there's not 1,000 Black Christmas movies.
This is true.
That's what it's not about them getting up at the end, it's about them getting up in the end, and then there's 15 movies.
Them getting up again and again and again and again.
Exactly. Like, once, okay, fine. But I hate, like, this repetitive thing. That's what I hate about it.
Yeah, well, and we don't see... it's good to get movies like this because you don't see it a lot used. You know, everyone wants their kind of ending explained or a little more straightforward, where it was nice that we didn't know who it was, who knows, and it leaves that mystery, and I think it gives it also not just that horror movie feel, but like that murder mystery feel.
You know it's someone that was in the house, and you know it's not Peter or whatever his name is because they take him.
Yeah.
Isn't he dead? I don't know. But they take him, and then they're like, oh, you're safe. And it's like, surprise, it wasn't that guy. There was just 2 crazy guys.
Also, the house is
I like the
gorgeous.
So the house is in this neighborhood in Toronto called Summerhill, which is ballin'. Like, the neighborhood is very, very, very nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the house is really... we saw how the people that own the house are like...
Yeah, we
just
thought it was
not
interesting
into it.
that... So the people that live at the house really are not crazy about the fact that their house was in this movie and people are like trying to visit and all that kind of stuff. So I was reading that for the 25th anniversary, that was the first time they ever opened up the house for them to come film footage and allow some of the original cast to like come see the house. But I did think it was interesting that apparently a lot of the people involved didn't want to visit the house because they thought it would kind of take the magic out of the movie when you see a location not in that horror setting.
Yeah.
And they were like,
yeah.
Because I saw a lot of them talked in interviews about how even when they were shooting, like, the house really scared them. Like, they said they did a great job making it scary while they were there. And I think it's amazing, like, they did actually shoot in the house. They rented that house the entire time so they could, like, stay in it. And
that's
really
why it's so
build that
effective,
atmosphere.
because it's actually got, like, a realistic kind of space, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You're not getting, like, some sort of studio, like, built house with, trick walls that don't really make sense. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, like it was lived in, and it was really, really amazing. Well, let's get into, is this movie scary?
I thought it was. Part of why I thought it was so scary was the plot with Peter and Jess. Just because, I don't know, that's real world shit. I work in a job where I deal with stuff like that, so that can be very scary, and that's like something that I experience in my everyday life. So
I mean, it's not a masked maniac, right? Like it's like
literally a real person,
your partner.
Exactly. And then you also have this like random person living in your attic that you don't know about. Yeah, that's also scary. So I thought it was scary. I was like, I was on edge a little bit.
Yeah, we always bring up the term, like, anxiety building. Like, I wasn't necessarily, I wasn't jumping out of my seat, but the atmosphere and what they set up was perfect for the film. Like, there wasn't any point in the film. I always make it a big point to talk about in all the movies we review, like, the pacing and stuff. There was at no point in this movie where I was like, man, this movie's like dragging on.
No, I didn't think that either.
The pacing was amazing. We got just enough story, just enough horror, like just enough kills, like that you were always on the edge of your seat. Like I said, I hadn't seen this in forever, so I couldn't remember if they solved who did it or not. So while I'm watching it, I'm trying to, like, really figure out who it is and why it can't be this person. And it really kept me intrigued. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a, like, jump scare movie.
No,
but it's definitely creepy. Like Mike said, like, the eyeball in the wall, like, these just kind of iconic horror things that creep people out are in this, and it's really effective. How about you, Mike?
Absolutely. It's one of the first movies I ever saw that did manage to kind of keep me up and make me anxious and make me kind of look at all the shadows. And, to this day, it's still one of the, like, 5 or 6 movies that I consider scary. Like X said, for many reasons, there are the kind of more realistic, like, social horror aspects of, like, interpersonal violence and, like, people struggling for, like, autonomy of their own bodies and stuff. But obviously also, like she said, someone living in your attic that you don't know is there, especially like a big creaky house like that, right? Like people are coming going all the time. Like, how are you going to know? And just, again, the shadows that they used in that movie, and the every shot of the, like, crawl space entrance of the empty hallways, it's always like an empty stairwell, and it just, oh my god, like images that I come back to as being seminally scary to me. Like, they were very influential.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I don't want people to feel like we're rushing this, because we are going to talk about the remake, and then I figure we're probably going to end up talking about this more as we kind of compare them. So I say we get in the rating this one.
Should we rate it, or should we rate them both at the end?
How would you like to do that, guys? Do you want to rate them together, or would you like to rate them separately?
Well, let's rate them both. Let's rate them separately, but together.
There we go.
If that makes any sense.
Alright, well, I mean, I figure the only reason Xylia wants to skip the rating right now is because for Black Christmas 1974, we have to play the budget game, and Xylia seems to think that she's
my God,
champion and all-time winner.
I definitely am not.
Although Mike did win for Mandy, but that was only because
I won by default. That's
by default.
Not a win.
I have no concept of these kind of things anyway.
And he was only what, like, you were only like $54 million off.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get into the budget. What do you think the 1974 Black Christmas cost to make?
My dad said it was a really low budget movie when it came out. So like maybe $1 million. $1
million. We got Xylia coming in at $1 million. Mike, What do you think?
I'm gonna say, like, probably between $1.5 million and $2 million.
All right, so the winner of this one is Xylia.
Nice. Was it lower than $1 million?
It was lower than $1 million.
Oh, wow.
It was $620,000.
Oh, geez.
So
I was thinking it would be lower.
Yes, it was a very low budget film when it came out. Now, what do you think it made? And we'll start with Mike.
$20 million.
$20 million. Xylia.
$5 million.
And the winner of this one is gonna be Xylia. So the film made $4 million
wow.
in the box office, which is still a great return.
Yeah.
I mean, it more than tripled its money, and it definitely, it was very well received, and it's still very well received. As we talked about earlier, it's an iconic horror film now, especially for the holidays. So let's do it. Let's flip the script and go over to Black Christmas 2006, the remake. Those good old years. I was only a year graduated when this film came out. So we will get into the trailer for this one, and then we will be back with the bio, and let's see if there's more than one sentence written for this one.
15 years ago, on Christmas Eve, his family became his victims.
What have you done?
Now,
all roads and airports are officially closed. This one is not gonna let up.
a group of college friends
That sucks. Everyone should be home for Christmas.
are about to discover
Lauren, we're opening up presents. Why don't you open the present we got you?
their house
I got it.
is his home.
All is calm, all is bright. Who is in my house tonight?
Don't you have lots of toys to deliver to good little boys and girls?
You really shouldn't provoke somebody like that.
And on December 25th,
You're definitely getting punked.
Is that Santa's reindeer?
all he wants for Christmas
Is Megan in her room?
is a new family he can treat like his very own.
You're my family now.
Black Christmas.
So that was the trailer for the 2006 remake. Let's get into the bio, and it is a little longer. On Christmas Eve, an escaped maniac returns to his childhood home, which is now a sorority house, and begins to murder the sorority sisters one by one.
Yep.
So
That trailer is so just like reminds me of every movie in 2006.
it's a very 2000 trailer.
Yeah.
So briefly, just kind of the cast and crew specs. So this was directed by Glenn Morgan, who has not really done a whole lot. He basically directed 3 films. His first film was the remake of Willard. And the remake had Crispin Glover in it, I believe.
I've never seen that, but don't you remember when I was a kid and I had that huge poster in my bedroom?
Yes, I do remember that.
I got it at like a video store for free. So, and I had a cement wall, so I was like, I'll just put this here.
I mean, any poster with Crispin Glover to me is a win, so...
True.
He then directed this. This was last. he directed Final Destination 3, and then this, and yeah, that was pretty much his career. I don't think he hasn't done anything, or at least it's not listed, really recently. But the cast, we only had one cast member return from the original. And who's that, Mike?
Our girl, Ms. Andrea Martin, legend.
Yes, I did read that I think they approached all of them to try to get as many as they could to return, and no one was really interested. But she was willing to come back. She plays the new house mother. I think she was a phenomenal choice for that.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you know, you have to have somebody to do that role with a sense of humor, and it figures that probably one of the only people from the original movie with a sense of humor who was still alive was her.
It just makes sense, because I think about, especially with the original Black Christmas, like, she wasn't this comedy star yet, and then you bring her back in the comedy role in this movie. So yeah, it made sense. And yeah, the cast is so 2000s.
Oh, and it's so good. Fuck.
So we have Katie Cassidy starring in it. Interesting enough, another Nightmare on Elm Street connection, because she starred in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2010.
That we may have bleached out of our brains.
Precisely. She had a reoccurring role on Gossip Girl. I mean, she's been in 80 million things. I was gonna say, more recently, people would know that she's starred in, like, the CW Arrow TV show and all the other shows that coincide with that.
Yeah.
She plays Black Canary in them. Then we have Oliver Hudson,
who we love from another sorority classic, Scream Queen Season 1.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
I was looking at Xylia to see if she'd realized he was from that.
No, my brain's like...
And then the other huge 2000 actor in it, Lacey Chabert. Is it Chabert?
I think you may have mangled it.
I think I always mangle them.
I believe the T is silent, but anyway, I don't know.
Okay, it's like a Herbert thing.
Yes.
Except if it's Herbert, then it's not silent.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. But from Mean Girls, so she was one of the plastics in Mean Girls. So
I mean, iconic Gretchen Wiener is like,
yeah.
None for you.
One of the Mean Girls.
Well, I mean, I would hope that if you're listening this far into it, A, you've watched this movie, and B, your heart fluttered with the 2000s cast.
Yes.
Well, also Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, Queen. Love her.
Well,
yeah.
When I was rewatching this, I was like, oh, it's Ramona from Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. Also another movie filmed in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also in Final Destination 3, which makes sense now that...
There's a couple of cast members in this that are from Final Destination 3. Kristen
Cloak. She was not technically in it, though, wasn't she? Well, she was in the first one.
Yeah, I think she was in 3.
Okay.
I know she was in
a long time.
I know she was in 3 because I had read that Glenn Morgan basically wanted her in I think, the house mother's role.
Oh, okay.
Because she had done Final Destination 3 with him.
Yes.
But ended up she took the role as the sister. So, yeah. So, let's get into it. Did you guys have any favorite scenes of
First of all, excuse me, are we not even gonna mention Michelle fucking Trachtenberg?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like,
if nothing else,
Buffy.
Only from Buffy.
Like, if nothing else.
Buffy. I apologize. All my Buffy people, I apologize. They're so...
You just lost half your friends.
I know. I've lost the viewership or the listenership. There's so many, especially like our kind of age bracket, like these iconic 2000 late 90s people in it. There's just overload, stimulus overload.
That's okay. That's why I had to, jump in and just fix your
reins.
Yes.
That's right. And I was gonna say, I always I didn't really remember this movie, but I remember seeing it. I know I saw it with Xylia.
Yeah, we definitely watched it when I was like in grade 12.
Yeah.
I had never seen the original, but I watched it.
Yeah, I feel like
recently
this was
after
kind
it
of,
came out.
when it came out, it was in pop culture for at least a month or so. Like, I remember it being pretty, like, big, like, pretty decent.
I don't even remember, because I remember I was the one that, like, initially, I don't know if I must have rented it.
I feel like we
something.
rented it.
And I don't even know what prompted that, but...
I mean, I always did love the cover of, like, the DVD of this. And honestly, I probably like the cover to this one more than I like the cover to some of the covers to the original Black Christmas. I just, whenever I see the cover to this remake, like, I recognize it immediately, and, like, to me, it's, like, this iconic image. So let's get into it slowly about, like, let's talk about scenes we enjoyed from this, what we did enjoy from this film. Xylia.
So the one scene that always stood out to me about this movie was the one where he's, like, using the cookie cutters and, like, on the, was it his mom's skin or something? For some reason, that like, him doing that is the number one most memorable thing about this movie for me. And I have no idea why. I thought that, I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna lie.
Interesting.
Literally, every time I think about this movie, which is not very often because sometimes I forget that it exists, stellar cast aside, all I can think about, I'm like, Lacey Chabert and cookie cutter skin cookies. Like,
yeah,
it's literally all I could think about. When I rewatched it, I was like, I literally do not remember a single other thing from this movie other than that.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah, I'm glad that we all agree on this, because 100% the cookie cutter skin thing is all I ever remember. I don't ever remember anything else. I don't remember so many eye gouges in this until we rewatched it.
This is like this is a lot more action packed than the first one.
Yeah, we definitely, to me, and I mean, it makes sense with Glenn Morgan directing it. To me, I know when I watch this, like, I'm in that Final Destination time of horror where it's like shock, but it's nothing like crazy. It's just like violent, but it's like really aimed at like that, like, 2000 MTV generation.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And, yeah, like, I just, you definitely can tell the time period that this was made. I don't feel there's any guessing. As a remake to the original, how do we feel about this? I'm thinking we can discuss things that maybe they got right, maybe things that they even improved on, and things that they didn't necessarily hit quite like the original.
Well, one thing that I have, like, a couple of comparisons, but I liked how at the beginning they, like, basically Claire, I guess it was still Claire, walked over to the closet. Now she wasn't, like, you know, didn't have the bag over her head in the closet. They waited till after. But that was, like, it wasn't exactly the same as the original, but it was similar. Like, it was kind of, like, keeping in the same vein, basically. I liked the original better in terms of that.
How about you, Mike? Do you want to shoot off a point?
Well, okay, I guess my point is this. First of all, I will get out of the way that obviously I'm going to say the remake is trash. Like, it is. Enjoyable trash. 100%. Enjoyable trash with the most glorious and yet wasted cast of the mid-2000s. But that said,
not a lot.
I enjoy it by separating it from its, like, parentage. I know that it is of the, like, genre that the original spawned.
Yes.
Which is, you know, a more, like, going for shocks, schlocky kind of formulaic cannon fodder style of slasher movie. And I know, and, you know, like, I have to look at it as that kind of permutation of, and even tribute to the type of movies that it did indeed obviously inspire. That, you know, the Halloween and all those other similar movies in the 70s. But even though I'm calling it, like, schlocky shit, essentially, compared to the, you know, beautiful, literate original movie. I like it because it's got that grindhouse feel. Like, you know what I mean? It had that...
Yeah.
Everything about it to me, and especially with the backstory, it's kind of like the type of thing that, like, Rob Zombie... Like I feel like if Rob Zombie did a Halloween remake, it would have been like this. Obviously, it would have been better than this one, but I feel like it would have had the same. Like, it would have had that backstory, which I found to be very, like, pulpy and grindhousey and over the top, but it was in a knowing way. Like, it knew, it was just having fun and just pushing the envelope as far as it could. And I kind of liked that they knew that they couldn't recreate the, like, tension or anything of the original. So just fucking let's throw all this shit at the wall with a cannon, Like, it's not gonna stick to it. It's gonna blow the fucking thing up. There's no subtlety, but I kind of like that they are two different movies as a result, even though they're very similar plot.
Yeah, in terms of the plot, like, I found kind of like the first part that I was saying was, like, they tried to kind of, like, more or less stick to the same plot, but they would have, like, subtle differences. So, like, instead of Claire's dad, it was, like, her sister, like, half-sister or whatever. What was another one? Oh, yeah, and when they went up in the attic, so in the original one, when the house mother went up, it was, like, the house mother that was murdered, but this time it was the same thing, but it was somebody else.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, like, varied a little bit in terms of that. And then, of course, like, the Billy backstory didn't really exist, like, to that extent in the original.
Yeah, we obviously got a lot of... I was going to say, if anything, I love that comparison, Mike, to, like, Rob Zombie and that kind of grindhouse feel, because, yeah, they kind of really, to me, honed in on the original in terms of what was being said on the telephone, and then, to me, it was kind of this, it seemed to me a thought process of, like, what if we literally explain what he's talking about on the telephone?
Yeah, like, let's leave zero mystery, but in completely just dumbing it down and putting it all out there, we're gonna make this, like, movie that's just completely wild for a totally different reason, because we're actually showing this insane shit that is probably more insane than anything they had intended in the, like, obscure phone calls of the original, I'm sure.
I mean, as much as... with a remake, you're always trying to, let it have its own legs, and I don't want to judge it, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't think the addition of the Billy stuff was necessarily, like, a positive thing. Like we kind of discussed with what makes the original so good and iconic is, like, this mystery that we don't know.
Yeah.
Where, because everything is just spoon-fed to us in this one, like, we know who the killers are, we know what happened to them.
That's how they, like, that's how the story definitely, like, I feel like they were like, we have to make this our own in a way, and I feel like that's how they tried to, like, make it their own. And on a side note, I remember who Agnes is now.
Yes, that's right.
Also, Agnes is interesting.
She's interesting. So, yeah, I was gonna say, one of the biggest departures from the remake to the original is that we actually have two killers by the end of it, not just one. And also, our first killer for a majority of the movie is Agnes, which was odd that Agnes is played by a guy. I thought that was kind of bizarre. I'm not really sure of... I couldn't see anywhere. I tried to research, like, why maybe there was a reason, but it doesn't really seem like it, other than they wanted Agnes to look like an ugly woman, and they just picked a guy.
Oh, interesting.
Also, like, glaring plot holes. Agnes's eyes were gouged out when she was a kid, but she has eyes in this movie, like, as an adult. I thought that was kind of bizarre.
Maybe she got, like, fake eyes.
Yeah, like, maybe, but they seemed to move. Like, they weren't like, she's got fake eyes, we're gonna make it seem like fake eyes. Like, her eyes were like...
I mean, my cousin has a fake eye, and you'd never know.
Does it move?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know many people with fake eyes.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty sure it's fake. Like, she had an eye donor, and I mean, you've seen her eye.
Listen to our new side podcast. What do fake eyes do, and what are they
Although
about?
then we went to school with somebody who had a fake eye and it didn't move, so
who
knows? Maybe it all depends on the quality of the money, the amount of money you have to get an eye.
And I don't know, did we look? Yes, we did look. So this came out a year after Sin City.
Yes.
Which they were obviously very highly influenced by, with the yellow skin.
But he reminds me of Eugene Toombs from the X-Files.
Yes, he did have
more so than Elijah Wood from Sin City.
My thing's not necessarily...
And he kind of looks like Eugene Toombs.
And you know what? I would almost say that there's a good chance there is some sort of nod to Eugene Toombs, because when they brought X-Files back a couple years ago, I think Glenn Morgan directed a couple episodes. And I mean,
he was in an episode of the X-Files.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting he's an actor too.
I got to I haven't watched it yet because I got to season 5 in the X-Files, and when I first moved to Newfoundland, and every night I would have nightmares, and I think aliens were coming into my room in my sleep.
I'm speaking about the guy who played Billy. He was actually in an X-Files episode.
He's in it. Oh, fuck.
Oh,
a new one or old one?
The new one. It was in 2018.
Oh.
That's interesting. I thought you were talking about Glenn Morgan.
2018, they're still making the new X-Files?
Yeah, they renewed another season.
Ed. So, another Billy.
That's interesting, because I thought you meant Glenn Morgan, because I saw Glenn Morgan also does acting on the side from directing, since he doesn't direct anything anymore. My thing was, the coloring, not just the yellow, but, whenever we got that kind of grindhouse backstory of Billy, there's no way he was not influenced by the coloring of Sin City, because the color grid is almost exactly the same. And the way they told his backstory, I just felt the pacing was also very much like Sin City.
I haven't seen Sin City in a very long time.
It was very jumpy.
A fern.
Yeah.
It would jump around, yeah.
To me, maybe it's my memory failing me, but I just don't really associate them. Another really creepy thing, instead of the door, he's looking up through the tile in the bathroom floor. Fucking creepy.
Oh, that was great. That was really nice.
I did really enjoy that. I thought that was such a great homage, and also equally as creepy and different.
Creepy.
Well, and also clearly a Psycho reference.
Yeah, 100%.
We still have to review Psycho so I can watch it.
Xylia's never seen Psycho.
I've never seen it.
I know, jeez.
Even my mom was ashamed of me.
I will say, I really felt I didn't even need Billy.
No.
I feel Agnes would have been fine. Once they got together, I was just this is ridiculous.
The fight scene at the end, I was just ugh.
And it was that 2000 hokey, you think he's dead 8 million times and he's not.
And you realize there's still 20 minutes left to the movie.
Yeah, and you're what is going on? I just don't think it really got the essence of the original it should have, I feel. Even we talked about, the original having that kind of low-key feminist film feel.
This didn't have that.
This didn't have it at all. This was 100% targeted at teenage boys, which I think is very interesting when we get to talk about the new one coming out, or is out, I keep saying or is, depending when this comes out, because they've kind of flipped the script compared to this, where they've said the whole purpose of the new one, and for it being PG and not R, is that it's accessible to teenage girls and preteen girls that introduce them into horror, because things aren't made for them normally. So I think it'll be interesting, because I think, to me, a comparison between that and this 2006 remake will make a better comparison than the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Just because I feel these kind of films, I don't necessarily know if we've escaped that MTV slasher thing yet. Everyone wants to be Scream still.
The amount of time between the original and 2006 is a far longer time period than from 2006 to now. Like, that's really only 14 years. So I feel like the styles really haven't evolved as much.
Yeah, I agree with that. So maybe, if we get another remake in 30 years,
it could be different.
And when we're recording episode 6 million or something,
we'll review that one.
But yeah, I did enjoy some of the kills in this. I thought they were fun.
I love those fun kills.
Well, they were entertaining. I did enjoy, which is always difficult, I think, for anyone that's doing a remake. I enjoyed that they didn't take themselves too serious. There is definitely kind of always those winks at we know we're a remake, we're a fun horror movie.
Yes, and can I also say that speaking of kills, I was very glad, for whatever reason, this is maybe me being neurotic, but I was very glad that Andrea Martin didn't get killed by one of them, that she got killed by an icicle.
Yes.
I'm just saying, I like that, because I like that she may have gotten murdered, but it was more of an accident.
The icicle was probably my favorite kill, I think. I really thought that was witty. I was what a great inventive way to kill someone in a horror movie.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that. Do we want to talk about Is It Scary?
Sure.
I feel like we didn't harp on this one as much, but I feel like there's not really that much to harp on. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys would agree, but to me, this is just kind of a surface level, take it or leave it horror. There's not really much more you can read into it. It's 100% made for just enjoying it as what it is.
Yeah.
So, did we find it scary? We'll start with you this time, Mike.
No, it was, a little bit too trashy and tongue-in-cheek, but, I don't think it was really aiming for that. I think it was aiming for more gross out than anything. There was no mood or atmosphere, so, I know, but I don't think that's what it was going for, I guess, is my answer.
I definitely agree with that. It wasn't scary at all, and I was thinking, this movie was almost begging to be made, a couple years later, because I feel like this is definitely a movie a studio would crank out for a 3D horror movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It had that kind of shticky stuff. I could imagine the icicle kill in 3D.
Oh yeah, you definitely get the first person icicle dropping down to your eyeball.
Yeah. When I was thinking about that when I was watching it, I was thinking that would almost be an interesting remake of remaking the 2006 one with this schlocky trash remake, but giving it that 3D quality.
Yeah.
So I think that does add something if it's just a popcorn flick.
Yeah. I think I would probably have liked it better if it were 3D and I saw it in the theater.
How about you, Xylia? How do you feel it was for the scary meter?
I think it wasn't scary at all.
You weren't shaking in your boots?
No.
Even the phone calls weren't as good.
No, because they weren't really
There was nothing
obscene.
shocking. There was nothing obscene. It was just
that kind of
rambling and screaming, and that was it.
That kind of defeats the whole purpose of them, I feel.
Yeah, it 100% does. So I'm going to switch it up a little. Instead of going in the rating it, we're going to rate it last. We're going to do the budget game for this one.
Okay, I feel like the budget was $10 million.
Xylia's coming in hot with 10 mil. Mike.
I say 9.9 mil, Bob.
Oh my god.
Oh, I like your style, Mike. And the winner is Mike.
Damn
so
girl.
This costed $9 million to make.
Oh, wow.
And what do you think it made? Mike, we'll let you go first.
22 million.
22 million. And what do you say?
I was going to say 20 million.
$120 million. Mike is gonna take this one.
Oh my god, we're split down the middle here.
$21.5 million. So they doubled what they made, but not much more than that. It was considered a flop in the studio's eyes. The studios thought it was gonna do a lot better. Now, this is where I'm really gonna ask the help of our listeners and everybody, and hit up any of our social media and let us know. But in my research and looking in forums and stuff, and Reddit and stuff, people said that a Black Christmas 2 exists, and it is a sequel to this movie. And they said that, Katie Cassidy was in it still. It's not on IMDb. I haven't seen it anywhere except for a couple sites that gave, a synopsis breakdown of it, where it was, something about someone having a kid that is Billy's kid, and apparently Glenn Morgan was gonna do a sequel.
Well, isn't Agnes Billy's kid?
Well, I guess, yeah. Another kid, I guess. I don't know. So, I don't know if it actually exists, or if it's just these couple... I've only saw it on very sketchy-looking sites.
I think you just answered your own question.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. But if it does, I want to know.
Maybe it's fan fiction.
Maybe. That's kind of interesting that this remake would spawn fan fiction. I mean, it is an incredible cast, so... well, let's get into rating them. So let's start with our first one, Black Christmas, 1974's Black Christmas. Xylia, hit us.
I'm gonna give that one a sleigh.
Xylia's giving the sleighs now.
I mean, it was I really enjoyed it. This was my first time seeing it. I had only seen the other one. And, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Everything about it. I love the set. I love the outfit. I just, love the aesthetic. I thought the story was good. I really like how they didn't, there was no finite kind of conclusion at the ending or definite conclusion at the ending. I really, really liked it.
I'll go next. I am going to give it a sleigh as well. I absolutely love this. Like I said, I don't think I really absorbed it when I saw it when I was younger, so I didn't really have an opinion on it. So I hadn't seen it since then, and I absolutely loved this viewing of it. I was on the edge of my seat trying to guess who it was the entire time. I loved the cinematography. I loved the acting. As everyone knows, especially me and Mike, we love really well done trashy horror.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't even think this was trashy, though.
I don't think it was trashy either, but this is quintessential what a good low budget horror movie can look like and can do. And
it doesn't have to be shitty.
And I would say in the 70s they would put it in the trash category because it is a little more obscene and violent than we would have seen in that era. But I love it for that. I love what they did. They didn't do too much. They didn't do too little. They gave us just what we needed. Hands down, masterpiece. Shout out to Canada. Mike,
Always.
What do you think?
Oh, sleigh, of course. Sleigh bells.
I figured you... Oh.
Ouch.
I figured you were going to give it a sleigh just for old Barb.
I mean, obviously... if I could atomize each aspect of this movie, each character and each shot, they'd all get sleighs. Barb would get a quadruple sleigh. I love her. She just cemented, my love of that boisterous, personality-filled character in a slasher movie.
I'd say we could probably all agree that we are giving this film 5 out of 5 mini bottles of liquor.
Yes, 5 out of 5 empty mini bottles of liquor.
5 out of 5 wreaths made out of mini bottles of liquor.
There we go.
So let's get to the 2006 remake. Mike, what do you What's your rating on this one?
Okay, despite kind of enjoying the grindhousey, pulpy, over-the-topness of it all, there was still just so much waste. Like, all those amazing women, and, like, just... I know in another 6 months I won't remember anything about it again, so it's an A. It's an A for this guy.
Okay, an A. Xylia.
It, for me, is an okay. Like, it wasn't great. But if it's on the television and I have no other choice, I would watch it. That's fine. I mean, yeah, there's nothing besides the cookie cutter thing. There's nothing really memorable. Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah.
I am gonna give it a no, I'm not gonna give it a slam. I'm just kidding. I'm also gonna give it an okay. It's hard to explain why. I don't know, maybe it's like a nostalgia thing. Like I said, like I remember seeing this with Xylia and I remember liking it when it came out. And, as, like I said, we were pretty young then, just graduating high school, or I was, and I think it has the potential to be a fun holiday movie if you have friends over and you're drinking.
It's like a movie you put on that you don't really pay attention to.
Yeah, like you just kind of watch it, talk and drink, and it's got people that you recognize, and you're like, oh, hey, like Mean Girls or whatever, right? Like, we recognize these people, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's cool. It has that 2000 nostalgia. But yeah, like, it just didn't hit for me. It wasn't scary. Honestly, I felt it dragged a bit.
The kills were not even cool enough for the most part to, like, be memorable just for the schlocky, shock of it all.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't a great film. So I think an A and 2 okays, I think that kind of balances out how I feel it should be rated.
Yeah.
And I believe that is everything. So all I'm going to say is follow us on our social media. I did want to give a huge shout out to Jen because she wrote us a review on iTunes.
Yay!
It's our first actual review.
I was so excited.
We love Jen so much.
She graciously gave us 10 out of 10, or 5 out of 5, I guess, is the star
Same
rating.
thing.
And she said, the best horror movie podcast that I have listened to ever, period. Thank you.
And that queen knows.
That's right. And of course, shout out to all our Patreons, Jen, Ash, Cecily, Colton. We appreciate you guys. You help make the cost of doing this a little less, and we love you always. And if you're listening to this and you're interested in getting some free stuff and having access to cool new content that we don't put up on iTunes and stuff, go to patreon.com/itslayspodcast. Become a horror hound, check it out, be cool with us. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We all hope you have a happy holidays, as I know we all will try to by just watching lots of horror movies and perhaps just drinking copious amounts of eggnog. So, I think that's it. I will sign off. It is your humble host, Rowan.
See you later.
This is Mike. Bye.